Thomas,
Okay.
you are a teenager, you were listening sounds to Oasis and Blur, listening to them, you were you learned how to play the guitar, and as a teenager I was listening to other bands, and I listened your first
Cool.
your first CD. I was 15 years old. I was humming and I was listening a lot all the time.
I think that age is such an incredible age for experiencing, bands or I don't know, films, or just to kind of. It's such a unique time in your life, isn't it? I think the bands you form attachment to, then can live with you forever. And they can change your life. I'm not saying that we changed your life, but the bands I listened to then did. Some of them anyway.
You have changed the band names 4 times. At the beginning you were Pilots, later The Pride, then Snowfield.
Yeah.
What are you like from day to day when you enter the supermarket? Do you always know what products you choose, or maybe are you undecided?
I mean, that's a great question. I think deep down I know what I want. And the early referring to the name changes, we just didn't know who we were back then. It wasn't until we got signed. It's like, okay, well, let's get something that we like. Hopefully that indecision has not carried on for the last 15 years. I don't think it has.
Okay, let's go back to the memories, to your first album, The Back Room. I don't know if First Love, Taste is Best, is the same with music. The first album is always number 1.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've got relationships with all of our records, and they're all, I think of the times that we had when we made them, and where we were as people, as well. So of course your debut record is the first time you're putting your head above the sand, and for many bands it can be their defining record. I don't think it's our defining. I don't think we've ever had a defining record, really. I think we've kind of existed in the shadows and just kind of done what we've done and kind of, bumbled along. But you have your whole life to write the debut record. Those songs that made that record, we'd been playing live, and so I think it's a very unique state for a band to be in. When you move beyond that, every record you don't have as long to rehearse and live with the songs, but you're also in a different place. You might want to kind of express yourself differently, or kind of experiment, or try new things. So the bands I love, that's what I like about bands like R.E.M. or maybe someone like The Cure, bands that have long careers, looking at the journey that they go, the decisions they make and how they've changed and surprised their audiences when it gets really interesting.
And guys, how often do you ask yourself what is the division, how to find balance between the electronics and rock music, or different music genres, or maybe it's not important to you?
I don't think it's important. I mean, I don't think we like sit around and consciously think about it. It just happens. Sometimes we like to play guitars, sometimes we like to play more keyboards, sometimes both of them really loudly, but it just depends on how we're feeling at the time when we're in the studio.
I think that you try to find a balance between what is dark and what is light. You give a spark of hope, a little ray of sunshine. So is your music for realists or optimists?
Escapists.
Rather.
Escapists.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think it's funny, people have always written about the darkness and the gloomy nature of our band, but I think the people who our band means something to, I think it's the lines that have hope in them, or that are optimistic, that maybe resonate the most. Certainly, like when I get shown like tattoos of our lyrics, people, are like, Tom, look at this, Generally, they're the lyrics that are kind of hopeful and full of love. It's not all like that in our songs, but I think to have moments like that is important.
So you are focusing on escaping this world. If it would be possible, would you like to travel in time in order to live in past decades, or are you okay now in 2019? 19.
Well, Tom hates time travel, full stop.
Actually, does he though? Does he though? Because one of his recent most favourite series is actually a time travel.
Yeah, that's true. He's coming around to time travel slowly but surely.
As a concept, he's not big into time travel.
I don't like it when the narrative of a story is
based on,
not based, but can be changed dramatically just by time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'd quite like to go back.
I'd go back
to certain areas.
I'd try everything.
Try everything.
Well, I'd like to have been grown up in the 80s as opposed to growing up in the 80s.
Me too, yeah.
I'd like to have had long hair in the 70s, and I definitely would have liked to have been a beatnik in the 60s.
How far back would you like to go? Would you go back to Victorian times?
No, because everyone's just ill.
Okay.
And just general health-wise.
Would you go forward?
I'd go forward.
How far forward?
As far as I could.
I have the impression that your tracks from the last albums are a bit more optimistic, although you still use this specific dark filter, a filter created by you, by editors. Tom, it's a difficult question, I suppose. If you had to decide, what would you choose, the guitar or the piano?
Piano.
Easy.
It's easy. I like. I think so. If I had to choose, certainly. I spend a lot of time at both. You know, that's how these ideas for songs come to me, is in the company of guitar, acoustic guitar or piano. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have done since I was in my teenage years, on my own.
Black Gold is opportunity to reflect on what has changed over those past 15 years, but it also offers a look into the exciting future. How do you imagine the future of editors?
It's hard, isn't it? I mean, doing this best of has been a good opportunity to reflect on the last 15 years, and I see it as chapter 1 when Chris was in the band, and chapter 2 when Justin and Elliott joined, and we've made 3 records in both of those chapters. What happens next? I don't know. I kind of feel like Black Gold is a line drawn in the sand. It's the end of chapter 2. It really does feel like, the end of something rather than the beginning of something. Even the new songs on this collection, to me, feel connected to violence. They feel kind of like exaggerated versions of that record, and I would expect the next album to be different to those. But we haven't written it yet. We're still talking about the past and being nostalgic, and we're going to tour this best of, and hopefully that's going to be a celebration. And then next year I'll get to spend some more solitary time on my piano or acoustic guitar, and we'll start the process of writing another editor's album. But it's too early to predict what that will be and how that will sound and how it will feel.
And what's about not old but new track, Upside Down? That's a phrase used in Stranger Things. Have you also watched Stranger Things?
Yes, I think we've all seen it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's all right.
It's all right.
I'm a bit tired of this kind of 80s nostalgia, if I'm honest.
Mm-hmm.
This new wave of 80s nostalgia. But I thought the first series was really good.
Yeah.
I think it's good. It's good. Upside Down isn't named Upside Down because of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Probably more to do with Diana Ross.
So traveling around the world for so many years, it's difficult to remember about all the situations and events. Do you get that idea that during those days, during concert tours, all the situations may be blend in together from apart specific, unusual situations?
I guess, they can do. But it's something that we sort of reflect back on quite a lot, and you go, it sort of leads into more, if we talk about a concert, for example, then you talk about the day and the things that you did
running up to it, yeah.
We spend a lot of time in different countries, so not that they all blend into one, but our days is just a lot of travelling.
Yeah. That's just part of our life now, though, so it's quite natural for us. I mean, when I talk to people when I'm not on tour or traveling, and they're like, how do you cope doing all this, that, being a different, because sometimes we can be in two countries a day, and 2 very different countries a day, and if we're playing shows at the same time, it does get a bit muddled up, but it's like everything else. It's like you just get used to it.
Yeah.
And some of you musicians admit that they don't like long concert tours because it's tiring. So do concerts fully compensate separation from family, home and relatives, or maybe it's worth traveling for the sake of tasting local cuisine or of the countries you visit?
Of course, there's perks of, traveling and being in different places and seeing different people and experiencing different things. I think it's good for anybody, any walk of life, to see as much of the world as they can. It's good to broaden your horizons as much as you can. But obviously, being a touring musician, the repetitive nature of it is at odds with being a creative person in the first place. To make something and to go through the process of making an album, putting music together as a band or an individual. It's about creating something new. But I'm not going to sit here and moan about touring or being tired.
Yeah.
We're very lucky to do what we do, and we don't work in dog food factories.
Yeah, I think it's one of the reasons you start being in a band as well, isn't it? Is to see the world and have those adventures. So yeah, you can never moan about it as such.
No.
So on Instagram you posted photo from 3rd of March 2018, which was promoting the Violence album. You travel with the band by bus. And how often do you travel by public transport? For, I don't know, in London maybe, and listen to music on the subway?
Every day when I'm at home,
Yeah, quite a lot as well for me.
Take the kids to school on the bus.
Not so much.
What? Not on public transport?
Yeah.
Well, I live in the country.
Tom, you said that you often listen to Niels Fram and John Hopkins. And what is now in 2019 on your personal playlist, guys?
So what have I been listening to on the tube? I like the Oliver Arnold's record. Was that this year? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Remember?
it was. The Remember one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was good. Really good. I like lots of the new Bon Iver record.
Mm-hmm.
That's new stuff that I've been enjoying. How are you guys?
Actually, the record I was listening to, for the last couple of days, is by an artist called Lorraine James. I can't remember the name of the record, but her debut album just came out on Hyperdub, and it's an absolutely insane record. You'd like it, actually.
I like a record by a young girl from London. I can't really pronounce the name. It's called Be Bad Do Be or something. But it's like a grunge record.
Did you just make that up?
No, it's good. I sent it to you.
Yeah?
I sent it to you the other day. Yeah, you should listen to it. It's
good.
Yeah. It's a good record.
When Christmas time comes, I like to come back to the song When the Thames Flows. I know it's other project, but this song appears on my radio show only once a year, same as Frankie Goes to Hollywood, The Power of Love.
Right.
Do you like coming back to this song, to this Christmas clip? Are you planning to perform this track during Christmas?
I don't know. We performed it last year, me and Andy. We've just made a new Smith & Burrows album, so that will come out sometime next year. But that's not a Christmas record. But I love the fact that, you said, you play it once a year alongside Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and that's really cool for me to hear that. I don't know, making a Christmas record is not, I don't know, it's an eyebrow-raising decision to do. It's like, oh, really, a Christmas album? But to have a song that people do come back to, not everybody, but some people like to, hear once a year around that time is really cool. And that's kind of what we made a sad Christmas record, but me and Andy are both very proud of it. So it's nice for us once a year. People go, oh, I've dug this out again. I love this album this time of year. It's lovely, yeah.
How often do you listen to music in darkness?
In darkness?
Darkness, yeah.
God.
Never.
Probably. No, my control room in my studio is quite dark, but not in pitch black darkness.
Is that something you do? Would you recommend?
I don't think I've ever done it.
I listen to records on the tour bus quite a lot before I go to bed.
Yeah.
During night?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never done that.
So yeah, not in the dark. Do you listen to records in the dark?
Yeah, of course.
What, at night time?
Every Sunday during my radio show here.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
In the dark?
Yeah, I turned off lights.
Sweet.
And,
Immersive.
Yeah.
Immersive experience. I like it. Yeah. Candles?
No.
Because then that wouldn't be the dark.
Yeah, that's true. Not pitch black.
Without lights, and it's enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
For me, for our listeners. Off Control. It's our radio show. How about your music guilty pleasures?
No, it's a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean,
ABBA.
Yeah, but they're so good that I don't think they are a guilty pleasure because they're just that good. I mean, everything I think is a guilty pleasure is, or we think it is, are just really good bands.
I feel like guilty pleasure
It's sort of gone now.
the concept is kind of gone. Like irony, listening to music ironically doesn't seem to be something that the kids these days do.
It's just everything, isn't it? All at once.
Yeah.
I think things used to be a lot more tribalistic when we were growing up, and you listened to a certain type of music, and even if you did listen to, say ABBA or whatever, you wouldn't tell anyone, and it would be a guilty pleasure as such. But I think now, because of Spotify and playlist culture, most of the music is anything goes really.
If I want to listen to Genesis,
I'm going to listen to it.
And they're a solid good band though. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's nothing guilty about it.
We were talking about the Police last night as well.
Yeah, the Police sticking like Immaculate Collection on by Madonna. They're massive songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we feel that guilty as a band.
Listen to what we want, mate.
Yeah.
There's no place for
guilt. Do what we want.
No place for guilt with music.
Yeah.